Joining us now, California Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff. He's the ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee. You're circulating a letter among your colleagues. You want the United States right now to not only provide humanitarian aid to Ukraine, but also start providing serious weapons, right?
I do, and I think it's overdue. It's plain that Putin has little interest in the negotiations. There was a settlement reached in the fall that Putin has ignored, sending troops as well as hardware, military equipment, tanks, to change the facts on the ground in Ukraine. And I think the only way to bring him to the negotiating table is to show strength, and I think that we ought to provide that assistance, that military assistance to Ukraine as soon as possible.
And you're specifically talking about what? Armored vehicles, anti-tank missiles, maybe anti-aircraft missiles, stuff like that. Is that right?
Anti-tank missiles, radar systems so that they can identify where the artillery is coming from that is killing so many civilians, communications equipment so that the Ukrainian forces can talk to each other without the Russians listening in. But I think it's going to be necessary to raise the cost to these Russian forces and all the equipment that's flowing across the border. I think that's really the only thing that deters Putin is a show of strength. We have tried time and time again to provide off-ramps. He has shown no interest in that. Instead, they want to create a mini-state within Ukraine and permanently destabilize the nation of Ukraine. And I think we need to come to Ukraine's assistance.
I remember, Congressman, when the Ukrainian President Poroshenko was here in Washington back in September, he addressed Congress. He appealed for these kinds of weapons. So why hasn't the Obama administration approved them yet?
Well, and I supported that call back then when Mr. Poroshenko came. I think the administration has been reluctant to provoke Putin, to inhibit the chance for a peaceful resolution. But at a certain point, when you've offered that opportunity for those off-ramps, and the other side has not only made no efforts to de-escalate, but on the contrary, has only further aggravated the situation with new weapons, new material, new tanks, you have to say, okay, they're not interested in this. And I think the point is now well overdue for us to provide this military assistance and ensure that the Russians and these rebel forces don't gain the benefit of territory from ignoring the peace agreement that they entered into.
I'm told this issue of whether to arm the Ukrainian military will be at the top of the agenda when the German Chancellor Angela Merkel meets with President Obama here in Washington on Monday. Do you get a sense that they are going to both jointly approve a major shift and start sending weapons to Ukraine?
I don't know if they will jointly approve that. I think we're still probably well ahead of where the Germans and the French are. But frankly, I think that our commitment to arming Ukraine will assist the French and the Germans as they go to meet with Putin and try to negotiate a cease in the hostilities. The fact that, we are going to have Ukraine's back militarily with the provision of this equipment, I think enhances the bargaining position of France and Germany. But there is, a force within Europe that is even opposed to the sanctions, the financial sanctions. So I'd be surprised to see the French and Germans at this point embrace military support.
Because, as you know, there's pressure on the president to even go further and tighten the sanctions against Russia. There already are coalition sanctions. You say they're controversial in Europe, but they don't seem to have done much as far as Putin is concerned, have they?
Well, they haven't curbed his behavior. That's certainly true. They have had the intended impact on the Russian economy, which is in tatters. But Putin seems determined, notwithstanding the economic damage, to go forward. And I think we need to raise the military cost to Russia to go forward and see if that will deter him. Because I think one thing is pretty clear at this point, Wolf, and that is economic sanctions alone aren't going to change Putin's behavior.
Adam Schiff is the ranking Democrat of the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, thanks for joining us.